Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to The Secret Friends, episode 511. What's the 511? Don't know, but we're recording on February 2nd. We're going to have a good time. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra. I am a very proud husband. My wife was nominated. Well, her book was nominated for a Minnesota Book Award for the children's category. So we're going to be going to that nomination award ceremony in April. Very excited for that. It's really amazing, the competition she's with. So I'm a proud hubby and so happy for her. And I am joined by Charlie Carden. Charlie has a new webcam. He's all in focus, and we're ready to talk about the world of geek.
So close. Yeah. Yes, I'm excited. We're talking about a cool new movie today, but we also have some super cool announcements. Usually we start, obviously, right here with the Paying Your Bills segment, giving homage to the wonderful people on
Well, we have to introduce our guest, Charlie.
Our Patreon Super Squad, which I will do after we introduce our guest, which I'm going to let Todd do because my monitor started drooping. So, Todd, engage.
That sounds like a problem you talked about your doctor about, Charlie. Yes.
Clint it happens to all guys my age.
AKA Ryuketsu with Ryuketsu 2034, I believe. There's numbers following that.
Yeah, 2043. I got to clear up those numbers. You know, it's one of those things. At least it's not.
Well, you might have chosen them. I'm not sure if they were assigned or if you chose them. Sometimes they're assigned, sometimes you choose them. Well, there you go. Well, but Clint's been on the show. Young. Oh, 43? That's the problem.
Well, in 2043, if once people start seeing my handle or whatever, they're gonna be like, why is this kid like 5 years old on here talking and stuff, you know? So
unless really that's what the gypsy said, that's the year you die, right? It's one of the two. It's one of the two, you know. You go with whatever you feel like. But Clint has been on the show before. He's been on Secret Friends Unite. He was latest was on our Shocktober for The Fury. That was a great episode. Because of the company, not the movie.
We may have missed each other because I was not on that episode, so we may not have met. But Todd did the thing my dad always did, was introduce me to somebody that he didn't know, that I didn't know, but that I did know, but that I didn't know. So way to go, Todd.
Yes. Clint comes from Spreading the Nerd, also because of several different Discord groups we're a part of. He's a great guy, very fun. So check out Spreading the Nerd on podcasts and YouTube channels across the globe. So Clint, so glad to have you back.
I'm super excited to be here. I love hanging out with you guys. So pretty hyped for this one.
All right, now back to paying the bills. Over at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, great way to check out our additional content, also exclusive the exclusive shows, early shows, ad-free shows, all that kind of great stuff for 7 days for free, and as little as $2 a month to stay on board. These awesome folks already keyed in. My buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude. Francie, who is my wife's hairdresser. Luke Lore, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, and my awesome uncle Tim. Also, John Sedorf, Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, Kelly and Crayley, Brennan Myers, Corey and HD, Matthew Keel, my buddy Kurt Krug, Mr. Journalist Extraordinaire, and our buddy Tanya Lee down there in the Southlands, keeping it real. We do have, Todd, I'll let you tackle this one. I did this read on my show already, so the word is out there. But our secret friend Super Squad, the awesome Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry, they've got something extra special for us.
Yeah, this is amazing. Sean, Stella, Henry are amazing supporters. Sean's been a friend of mine for over 20 plus years in Minnesota. We did the Waiver Wire Wizards podcast for Secret Fantasy Football, which was awesome. And Sean really supports us. He loves us, and he wants us to make sure that more people are getting into our content. So he said, hey, how about a gift 5 annual subscriptions to Secret Friends Unite at the the
Entry
friends
level.
with benefits level. Yeah, well, this is the friends with benefits. This gets you
Ooh.
not only the audio but the video and all of our exclusive content ad free. And this is for a year. Those are gifted subscriptions. No strings attached. You just enjoy the content and share the word. But to be entered into that giveaway, basically you would subscribe to our YouTube video channel and then leave a comment and then just snapshot that comment or rate our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Once again, screenshot that review and then basically have that with your username. And you can DM us on Blue Skies at Secret Friends Unite, Instagram at Secret Friends Unite, or email us at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com with that screenshot. And then leave your username and you'll be entered. This is good for a month. So at this point, we'll be announcing those winners on March 4th, but we're going to be playing this message across our podcasts and our socials. So if you haven't heard this yet, you'll be hearing about it across our network. So good luck, folks. Doesn't take a lot to enter, and you're going to get a year of free content. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh my
Thanks
gosh.
again to the Nias family.
Crazy great content. There's a show about comics that Todd and I do called The Spinner Rack. I do a fun show called The Facts Geek Life where we take a series and a season of that series and break down several episodes. My wife and I do a bad movies podcast every other month. There's a lot of enjoyable stuff to dig on. So we look forward to seeing some new folks joining us over there. So Todd, we have this comic. Now this is 111 of Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. This is from, you didn't put a date, but I'm going to guess 1972, 73, just based on that 25-cent cover price, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Clint, you guess. When is this comic from?
Oh, geez, 25 cents. I like the year. I'm going. Can I do a ballpark figure of late 60s? Late 60s.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a bold choice.
Okay.
Let's see how it works out.
Well, neither of you are right. Charlie came close, though. Price is Right rules. April 2nd, 1974. Yes, this is before I was born, a year before I was born. So
Wow.
I think comics were raised a dime in 1975. So 25 cents. Pretty good deal for probably 35 pages and half of them ads for Kool-Aid and I don't know what else they were giving away back in the day.
X-ray specs and all that stuff. But anyway, we've got a guest star, Shanna the She-Devil. That is Kazar's lady. Don't know where he is. Maybe they were on a break. Potentially, not sure. But we got a dude, and it's the Silver Samurai. He's wearing a little bit of a different outfit, a little bit more swashbuckly. So he's not really, he's wearing like maybe the chest piece of the armor, but otherwise he's got like pirate sleeves and he's wearing pirate boots and he's wearing like a pirate sash with like a scabbard attached to it because he's swinging a sword and it looks like a pirate sword. But his word bubble says, "You dare challenge me here in the sky, which is my element." Is it? Okay. Tell your mourners, fool, that you were
Is that a blimp, I guess? Mile High Mayhem. Yeah.
I guess that you were the helpless victim, that you fell a helpless victim of the Silver Samurai. Now, again, it was a year or so after this that there was an issue of Marvel Team Up where Spider-Man teamed up with the first cast of SNL and they fought the Silver Samurai on the stage of that show. Gosh, excuse me.
Need some water there, Charlie?
But I don't, when I think about the Silver Samurai, I don't really do this whole pirate leitmotif. It just doesn't really click with me. So now Silver Samurai, that was more of an X-Men character, right, Todd? So how can you speak to this for us?
Well, it was his first appearance, apparently.
Oh,
and there wasn't really, he became an X-Men character because of Wolverine's tie to Japan and basically his time where he basically learned about the way of the ninja and hand and samurai and all those fun things.
Ninja hand?
So, but also, Daredevil was tied into the hand and some of those forces that he had to take on. So I guess it would make sense that there was a little bit of a crossover. But, this really when I look into the episode, basically he was an agent of an organization called Black Spectre, which was led by the Mandrill, which I did not know about this organization. I haven't heard about him since. But yeah, so I guess apparently the best way to transport people back in 1974 was by blimp. Because, the Goodyear blimp was huge.
Very big. Yep, it'll fly right over Yankee Stadium. It'd be good stuff. Oh,
so
very
Clint,
good.
If you think of this comic and the fact that Shanna was involved in this, I mean, is this a comic you would have picked up in 1974 if you had 25 cents?
And we're alive, which I'm guessing you weren't.
No, I was not. But kid me would have definitely picked it up just because it said samurai on the front of it, and just like reading what he's saying in the bubbles there, it's like instantly just like it sounds to me just like a very stoic, because it looks like a pirate. I don't know. It just seems like very stoic. Yeah, I'd be all over it.
Dar pirates, dar. Well, if we want to talk about pirates,
sky pirates.
This wouldn't be. You will not at all be surprised that who was a sky pirate back in the 1970s. Todd, I'll bet you know that it was our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. She did everything, and I think that's how she was scaling cliffs and getting booty in the piratey sense back in those days. But these days, out on the corner of Hollywood and Vine in good old Hollywood, USA, she is getting us the latest news and scoops in her News and Scoops with Madam Webb segment. Let's have a look.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. And Charlie's partially right. You weren't necessarily a pirate, but you were one of the first female adult video makers. And you did make several movies that had booty in the title. So that's all I'll say. Whether they were pirates, who nobody knows. But you know what, Charlie, I'm sure those films are available in some service that you could check out.
Oh my goodness! Probably just selling them right on a freeway off ramp somewhere. You can get a dozen oranges in one of those tapes. Anyway, we have some news about the good lad in the Green Lantern series that's coming up. HBO's Lanterns or Max. I don't. Do they split it down the middle? Is it still called HBO? But it's on Max, or it used to be HBO Max.
HBO is the service. No, Max is the service, and I think there's HBO programming on it.
With that, yeah, it's so weird. Just call it Max, or just call it HBO and be done with it. Like,
I mean, it was HBO Max as recently as a year or so ago, but I think it's HBO Max.
Isn't it like Showtime, Charlie? Isn't like Showtime doesn't even exist anymore, and it's just programming on Paramount Plus is through this Showtime Studios?
No, it's separate. Because they will advertise Paramount Plus with Showtime like program because you can have them separately. So
can you still sign up for Showtime separately though?
You must be able to. You must be able to. I don't know. But anyway, Todd, this show we've known about for a long time.
Now and subscribe.
Okay, do it. We've known about Lanterns for a while. That's going to be on HBO. And they have cast the villainous Sinestro. And this is an actor I'm not terribly familiar with, but he certainly does look foreboding. The series, as you know, will follow the Jon Stewart Green Lantern. That's actor Aaron Pierre. Ooh, nice name. And Kyle Chandelier as Hal Jordan. Oh, Chandler, sorry. Two intergalactic cops drawn into dark Earth-based mystery, so on and so forth, American Heartland, et cetera, et cetera. So who knows this actor? He's been Counterpart in the Black List. Does any of you guys follow either of those programs?
I've seen him in the Blacklist, and I vaguely remember him. It's been a long time since I've seen the Blacklist, and I remember enjoying it. So I'm guessing he'll be good. I don't know.
Gotcha. Todd, what about you? Do you know this gentleman?
Is that the James Spader show? Is that the James Spader show? Blacklist. Okay.
Somebody was talking to me about that recently, but I've not seen it.
I don't know him, but I'm kind of glad it's unknown because he does, he probably has a presence. I assume that's why they're casting him, because they said the show was going to be a lot about it's going to be measured after like True Detective, where it's going to be a little bit more dark, a little bit more, a little bit different, dark mystery, which is great. And the fact that they're bringing in Sinestro, which is really interesting because I don't know how they're going to handle Sinestro. Are they going to handle him like he is truly the rogue or greatest nemesis of the Lanterns, where he basically defected? Are they going to make it where he's still a Lantern? Because he was at one time, obviously, and he was Hal Jordan's mentor. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm kind of glad that they're not shying away from, a nemesis that could ultimately, and Sinestro is a great character in regards to he plays the game. He's a lot like Lex Luthor. He sometimes will do things for his own interest. He does have a code, and he is not like a petty, but he has his own reasons why he does the things he does. So I think this is great that we're getting this. I'm all curious how this is going to play out, because with James Gunn's projects, I mean, I'm still watching Creature Commandos and Peacemaker, and those are still over the top. And the fact that we're going to get something that's more like, has more gravitas, and I'm curious how this is all going to work. And it's co-written by Chris Mundy, Damon Lindelof, and Tom King. This is an amazing creative staff. So I don't know. I don't know if this can go wrong, but maybe I'm wrong.
So they're doing a lot of casting now. So cameras rolling first quarter, maybe comes out this time next year. But I mean, it's been in talks for a long time. So I don't. Yeah. I'm not sure this news coming out at this time, like how long it's been in production. So I'm curious, but I feel like it's been, there's been talks of it for an awfully long time. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm a Green Lantern fan, not to your level, but I do like the concept, the space, the science fiction aspect of it put together with the comic book stuff. I'm totally down with it. But yeah, good to cast kind of the unknowns and to have some new folks in the mix. So yeah. Good stuff.
Clint, where are you at with James Gunn and some of these projects?
I'm super excited. The only Green Lantern, sadly, that I've really followed is the movies that we've gotten, and they've been kind of, from what I've not enjoyed them so much, but I know that they're, the comics and stuff are probably way better. So I'm pretty excited for this one, since it sounds like a true detective type of thing. They've also got I think it was in the cast, they got Kelly MacDonald, who's a Scottish actress. She's fantastic. And Garrett Dillahunt, I couldn't tell you what he's been in, but I know the face, and it's one of those faces like I've seen him and I like him. So
yeah, I recognize the name, but now I can't see the face. Yeah, but the name stands out for some reason.
And the way Max has been lately with their shows, they've all been hits for me. So we'll see. Hopefully, I've got high hopes. So I'm excited.
For sure.
I do too. Well, this next story, Clint, I know you will be excited about it because we had you on our Godzilla versus Kong review.
Yeah, that's where.
That was the one, yep.
When you had said he was on for the other one, I was like, well, maybe I haven't met him, but now I remember the Godzilla thing.
The Godzilla one.
Yeah, what's up with Godzilla? What's he doing?
Yeah, so apparently Godzilla just likes to take on everybody. I think there was a Justice League series about Justice League versus Godzilla. Now the X-Men are taking on Godzilla. Now, if you will give me 1 second, I will be back. But I am going to tell you that the X-Men have faced giant reptiles before. There's a specific comic from the 180 range, and I'll show you what it is. So give me 1 second. But essentially, this is a crossover between Godzilla versus X-Men. So Charlie, if you want to say anything more about it, I will get that cover and show you it, because I love this cover so much.
Absolutely. The show goes on. So Marvel putting out this crossover pitting the King of Monsters against the 1990s era X-Men lineup with writer Fabian Nicienza, who actually we may actually have interview with him coming up, and artist Emilio Lizo, who I'm not familiar with, bringing it to life. Yes, exactly. Godzilla's doing a lot of these showdowns with the Marvel heroes because marketing synergy, baby. All right, show us, Todd. What do you got?
So this is issue 181, and it's called Young Dragons in Love. This is where the X-Men are Japan, and there was a dragon there, and Lockheed had to take on the dragon. It's kind of hard to see it, but yeah. So it was a huge dragon, great issue. It was just so weird. X-Men were doing so many odd things at the time. It's my favorite lineup of characters, awesome. And I'm like, they've taken down big dragons before. I don't see Lockheed in the mix though, so that might be a problem.
And it's a great sample. I don't know if this final piece of art that they show us here in this link, or Godzilla's just like, meh! And you've got your X-Men 92 gang. Everybody, are they all falling from something? Because they're all in midair, like strike a pose.
I'm assuming they came out of. I'm assuming they all came out of the Blackbird, and yeah.
Story centering around a robotics company that draws Godzilla wrath, probably like a dog whistle kind of thing. And then the X-Men show up to intervene. So this drops May 14. Todd, is this a pickup for you? Are you going to grab this right away? Or are you going to wait?
It could be really great. And maybe maybe I'm trying to get my mythologies connected here. Maybe the company that made the Sentinels also is going to use technology to make a Mecha Godzilla. And maybe that's why Godzilla's mad.
Yeah. I love it. So, yeah.
But you'll love this too, Charlie. There's going to be a Godzilla versus Fantastic Four book 2 with John Romita Jr. coming out in March.
Junior, JR. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah, he's my dad's age. They're like a couple of months apart in age, so he's been doing Spider-Man that long. But no, I'm a big fan of his stuff. Well, cool. Well, Clint, you're the big Godzilla guy. How does this make you feel?
I'm really excited for it. I'm glad it's the 90s style X-Men. And it's going to be one of those ones that I will go to the comic book store and I'm going to look at it and they're going to have all the different variants and I'm going to want all of them.
I get snagged by that a lot too. Yep. I have a couple of, I changed some of the covers up in my den, which was the Alex Ross painted like white background and painted like 1970s versions. I swapped some of those out I did a run of the Secret Wars 40th anniversary facsimile edition, but then there was a couple of variant covers, one for Cap and one for Amazing Spider-Man, that were the Thing, and it was the Thing as Cap and the Thing as Spider-Man, but he had fallen off of his web, so he did a face plant. I don't know. It spoke to me, so I picked it up and swapped those out frame-wise. So yeah, variant covers, it's like Funko Pops. It's a slippery slope.
It's bad.
It will kind of get you every time. So yeah.
So one follow-up question for Clint, because Clint was telling me he had to drive an hour to see the movie. So, because the local movie theater closed. Do you have a comic shop near you?
Fun fact, it's Jetpack Comics and it's down in Rochester, where actually it's one of the artists who helped come up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, okay.
In
really?
The area. Yeah. When I go down there, there's whenever a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic comes out, they have special store only variants that you can only get there.
Oh, I like that. It's pretty cool. I had a store only variant for Walking Dead #1 because I think you could buy into it for one of my local comic shops that the logo was on one of the broken panes of glass Rick was standing in front of. So
nice.
Yeah, Source Comics in Minnesota gets some of those. I think there's the store in Ann Arbor, Charlie. I think they get sometimes too.
Midnight. Yeah, they have 3 locations in Michigan. Yeah, they're pretty big. Okay. So, well, cool. All right. Well, Todd, I don't follow the Sandman, and I don't really follow Neil Gaiman. I'm aware of the name and I'm aware of his work, but there's some kind of unfortunate news for fans of the show that's on Netflix. So why don't you walk us through this?
Yeah, Neil Gaiman is one of the. I would say if you looked at like the, I guess you call it the indie Mount Rushmore of comics. He would be on there. You've got like Alan Moore, the guy that created the Aardvark, Dave Sim, and then maybe Wendy Pillay. I'm just thinking about the people that were kind of like pillars to getting different alternative stories into comics, and Neil Gaiman is one of them. I mean, he was he's a British writer, and he has created amazing stories. You know, the Sandman is an amazing book made at Vertigo, really propelled Vertigo. He did other stories that are amazing, American Gods. He also did Nancy Boys. He did The Graveyard, or was it The Graveyard Boys as well? Dead Detective, created the character Death, all these things. Also, Good Omens. He wrote Miracle Man at a time. So he's done amazing things. He's done great issues of he did the Marvel 1612 series that we read.
Oh yeah. Which it found its way into What If, a version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's had his hands all over like Main Street Comics too. And unfortunately, he has been accused of many bad things, basically grooming, inappropriate relationships with his fans, I believe, associates, things like that are just not getting a lot of traction. And his projects are getting canceled all over the place. Yeah. And unfortunately, one of those projects that's getting canceled is The Sandman. Sandman season 1 came out. It's well beloved. It worked really well. My wife ate it up. She loves the series. John Sear loved the series. He's not a Sandman fan by any means, but he loved the series Netflix. The good news is we are getting season 2 done because it's already been filmed, and the people that made the show great should get their work shown. But season 3 is not going to happen now unless someone else picks it up. But quite honestly, I don't know how the cast feels about accusations, and it's really rough. I really find it hard in this day and age when we have artists that do bad things and then their work that people love. That dichotomy, we have that with the Harry Potter series where, how do you put it together? I mean, but there's been other horrible people as well. I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
But
at
this point,
it goes.
It's really sad.
Goes back to the body of work of like Bill Cosby, who I adored since childhood. But when the truth came out about him, I deleted every piece of his comedy routines that I owned. You know what I mean? So I guess I fell victim to it because I can't separate the man from the myth. You know what I mean? Because but I mean, his crimes were
specifically because he's there as a dad and a figure versus a writer where, you're like, oh, he's such a nice guy because he plays a great dad. And you're like,
exactly. That's what made what Cosby did so more wide ranging in scope for me. But this is unfortunate. I mean, there are masses of people out there that appreciate the work and don't know anything about stuff like this because it's not everybody isn't tuned into this the way that we are, and on kind of with their finger on the pulse. But even it describes that, the charges are still pending. He signed an NDA with one person. He was accused by 5 different people, and now the police are having a hard time contacting one of them. So we don't really know, but the damage is done. The court of public opinion, right? So you really can't skirt around that. So that's unfortunate. Again, I've heard of the Sandman show. I'd not tuned in, and with it being canceled, I probably will not at some juncture. So it's too bad. It's too bad, but people, whether he did it or he didn't do it, somebody came out and accused him, and the court of public opinion can be pretty damning. So I don't know. It's awful that people are awful, but it's good if it stops it from happening again, if that person's in fact guilty. So
if he was an athlete though, he might get a contract and might get to still play like a certain quarterback with the Cleveland Browns. But I'm saying about that, with you, Clint, is there any history with you with Neil Gaiman, his work, his art?
This one actually hurts because I've always heard of Neil Gaiman and such. I have a friend who's always tried to get me into him. He's huge, has an autograph, all that stuff. And I finally got into it with The Sandman on Netflix, and I absolutely went down a hole because I just fell in love with it. And I got the Audible version, which is fantastic. It has like James McAvoy in it and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Really well done. And then of course these allegations come out, and it's just like, it just hurts because I just really got into this. And now it's like like Charlie said, even if it's fact or fiction, the damage is done. And it's like, it just sucks. And especially for fans that I know have been around for years, to get this type of news. You never want to hear news like this for someone that you don't necessarily idolize, but enjoy all their content. Yeah. And, it really sucks.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. And he's been such a advocate for people of basically for people of for inclusivity, diversity. I mean, he was all in on having characters of LGBTQ characters in the Sandman, people of different color representing those characters. So, someone that you think is an advocate, then unfortunately, is he doing that just to seduce and use? I don't know. But it's, more will be said. We are not here to be the judge, jury, and executioner. We're here just to share the news. And I'm glad the second season is out, so the actors, the writers, all those people that did great work will get credit for it, and he can step away from it and let them, basically get more work from it because it's something they spent time on and they need it on their resume that they did a good job. So hopefully that is not the end of not the story of Sandman, because it's a great story. But
very true.
Something that is getting a new take on an old story is Christopher Nolan's newest project has been announced, and it's going to be The Odyssey, which you think about it. The Odyssey has been retold a billion times. It actually is a new version of the story with, I believe, I'm trying to think of the actor, but it's all about his return. This is his return to basically confront all the people that are there taking down his house. I think anybody know the movie I'm talking about? Great actor. Maybe it's Ray Fiennes, I think, is in the role.
There's a guy, he wore a shirt. I know, I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe that. But until then, we're getting another version of the Odyssey. And this, Christopher Nolan, when he does something, he does it big. He does it in IMAX. It's huge. I mean, Oppenheimer. And his cast for this movie is just crazy. Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Robert Pattinson, Charlize Theron, Benny Safdie, and John Bernthal, which is a lot of the people he's worked with in the past. But he's now adding John Leguizamo as well. Best known for his his portrayal of the clown from Spawn.
I guess. Yeah, and I was a fan of Leguizamo back in the 90s when he had a skit show that I feel like I don't know if it was on Fox or maybe one of the other networks. Great. I'm not sure.
Yep.
But yeah, it was great. But then, his career for at least me seemed to go dark for a decade or so. I feel like I didn't see him in anything. And now we're seeing he's back. He was in The Menu. He was great in that. He was in Violent Night. He was the villain in that. He's great.
Oh, that's right. Did a great skit on The Daily Show where he was interviewing Latino voters and he was wearing a disguise. It was great. Top tier. Great. But this movie is great that he's
the cast of this, it sounds like it's a Marvel movie packed with some other huge, like you said, Matt Damon, Charlize Theron is totally crazy, but I can't even think of the last true adaptation that we've seen of the Odyssey, and it sounds like the film, he's been describing it as a mythic action epic shot across the world with a budget of $250 million. It says here, making it the most expensive project that Nolan has ever done. And I hope that doesn't mean, and it's going to be a huge bomb, because you just get afraid when it's so built up.
What has ever failed, Charlie? Waterworld was great.
I mean,
that was a great movie.
What about
Horizon was great.
Megalopolis, which you're like, even by the name, it should be great. And it was one of the bigger bombs of the last decade. You know what I mean? So the film bringing the foundational saga to an IMAX screen. We're looking to see this. Oh, this will be out in 18 months, July of 2026. So that's pretty wild. Here's the question, Todd. Will this factor into our summer movie challenge next year?
Yes, not sure, but it will. It'd be great because he likes to kind of program. He likes a big movie for the summer, and I like the fact that this isn't it's a modern take where it's him in the modern future where he's going through. He's going to be taking on Cyclopses, Poseidon. So this is full on embracing deities before. I don't think he's done a fantasy type film before. He's obviously done science fiction, but I don't think he's ever done fantasy before. So this would be really, really cool. And man, that cast, they're just going to love playing like superheroes. These are the original superheroes. And the Odysseus, all of his characters, the Argonauts, right? I mean, or no, Jason the Argonauts. I mean, but still at that time frame, those were all the heroes. Yeah.
That'd be wild. What do you, Clint, what do you think?
I'm super excited. Anything that Christopher Nolan is attached to, I'm pretty much already gravitated to it. But the cast lineup is insane. There's a bunch of people. John Leguizamo, I love. Me and Ashley just watched him last night in The Menu for it was my second time.
So good.
First time. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson. The list just is so good.
It's just superstars, wall to wall, which again makes me like, is it too big to fail? But will it fail because it's too big? I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
But again, Nolan, I guess you'd have to look at his track record, right? But you would think those names, those big names, Spider-Man plus Batman, Mary Jane, Matt, all the stuff Matt Damon. Now I don't have it in front of me, so I don't. But all those.
What was it? The Bourne, Jason Bourne? Yeah, Jason Bourne.
Charlize Theron was in the Fast and Furious. I don't think that it's
and the Old Guard. She's Mrs. Old Guard.
What's that? Old Spice. All right.
Oh yeah, Mad. She was Furiosa. Yeah. So she's all over it.
There we go.
Well, let's roll on. Todd, my checkered history with Lego. I love
self-inflicted history, Charlie.
Self-inflicted history.
Don't blame the Legos.
It's funny because they've started to creep back into this house because April, our daughter, for both for April's birthday and really for Christmas, will get her these Lego sets of flowers that'll end up in her office. And April loves.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, those are pretty sweet. But I love Lego minifigures. That's like, I like to collect. You go to a Comic-Con, I like to collect those. That's my spot. And now there's rumors that there could be a Star Trek: The Next Generation Enterprise D, which would be completely insane.
That's what this article is all about. All of the new Legos coming in 2025.
Right. but a first ever $1,000 Lego set. That better not be the Star Trek one, or I'm going to be pissed. Clint, where are you at with Legos? You're a collector at all? Is it a slippery slope?
I've got a few, and I've got a few that aren't built, and it is one of those things. If I see it, I'm like, I have to have it, and then it sits there unbuilt, but at least I have it.
Yeah, we have an Enterprise 1701 refit, the Connie 2, which is my favorite Star Trek ship. We bought a model kit because April said, let's do it. We'll build it someday at Mission Chicago in 2022. And there it sits. It's right over there in the corner. And it will probably, because it's a
models. Everybody has great ideas about building models, and it's hard to do.
My son gave me a snap kit of ATSD from Star Wars and for Christmas, and it looks great. It's in my little corner of Star Wars. But it was
we built the formerly known as Slave One. It was a snap kit.
Formerly Slave One. But Todd, what's
formerly
the
known
set?
as? Yes.
What's the $1,000?
I know. I'm looking here. So we have all these sets. So I'm just looking at the numbers. So Lego, the Lord of the Rings bag end is 6,000 pieces. Then we have the Jango Fett's, formerly known as Slave One. That is how many pieces?
October 2025, a reissue of the Lego Death Star. $999.99. But yeah, that's a famous one. It showed up in Spider-Man Homecoming. That was one that his buddy Ned was so excited about building, remember? But yeah, can you even imagine? I don't own $1,000 anything. Now you put a lot of this shit together, it'll be in the, it'll be in the thousands of dollars, all the collectibles I have, but one thing, like, it's wild. That's wild. But I know Lego guys, and Lego guys, they're like Hot Wheels guys. They're super dedicated, and they're guys to get everything that comes out. Yeah,
and they can actually keep their value, especially if they're never been opened. But people then sell off pieces because you lose them, and Lego will replace certain pieces if you call in. But I mean, or you write in, and you can get replacement pieces, which is very cool. But ultimately, though, you could end up with unique pieces that are hard to find. So someone that is into the Lego game that has enough spare pieces could make a lot of people happy. Like I say, kids, don't buy puzzles or Lego kits at thrift stores, because you're always going to end up missing multiple pieces, and you'll be unhappy at the end of the day.
If I might jump back in, the Enterprise D has a release date. This is news to me. I had not seen this on any of the Star Trek website. November 28th, Thanksgiving, will be the first ever, unless I'm very much mistaken. That's Black Friday, by the way. The first ever fully licensed Star Trek Lego set, and it's the Enterprise.
Oh no, they got rid of the Mega Bloks license, Charlie, or whatever it was.
That might still exist, but I commend the Lego people for not making the most obvious and boring choice, which is the TOS Enterprise, which is a ship that I'm just not crazy about. I love the Enterprise D because I grew up on TNG, and as I said, the movie Enterprise, the Constitution Class 2 or the Connie 2 is my favorite. But it doesn't give the price, so I can't tell you that I'll buy it, because if it's like, it's $500, that's not happening, man. You know what I mean? I hope it's little. I mean, the actual filming model was 6 feet long. It better not be that big. Where's it going to go in here? I mean, I got a lot of stuff.
You can hang it, maybe, Charlie. I mean, you just have to be very careful.
That just never works out. I've tried to hang.
It might pull down your whole infrastructure roof, and then you're going to be killed.
You bet. Yeah,
it'd be bad.
The drop ceiling will drop on me.
So let's hit on these things, and Clint, by all means, if I think I want to ask one question at the end for everybody, but I'm going to go through this. And Clint, tell me if any of these are in your oh wow, I want this. Lego The Lord of the Rings bag end. This one's 6,000 pieces, and typically the formula is for Lego pieces, typically 10 cents a piece. So this one's probably $600. So bag end is basically like it's a landscape with all the Hobbiton village. So if you like hobbits, this is where you're going to end your time with all these hobbits. There's a Lego Star Wars UCS Jango Fett's, formerly known as Slave One. This is May 1st, not May 4th, which is weird. This one, I don't know if I see a piece count, but I don't even want to guess how much it is. But once again, it's kind of more of a reissue or just brought back. Then we have Lego The Lord of the Rings Gandalf versus Durin's Bane Book Nook. I don't know much about this one. Basically, this is where he fought the Balrog.
Oh, there you go.
Is there going to be a Balrog in this?
It sounds
there's a mini Balrog.
Not? They mentioned
a mini Balrog.
He's just a baby. Oh man,
Yeah, he'll be the size.
Here's where they might pin you down. Transformers Soundwave. Now, I know you're very particular about the Transformers, though. You don't like the static ones. You like the ones that actually transform. And how could didn't they get around to finally making one that actually transforms, or am I making that up?
Oh yeah, and actually that's what I was talking to Shai Anais yesterday. He was like so excited because he got the Optimus Prime Lego set, which does transform. They just brought out a Bumblebee, which does transform, and now Soundwave, which is probably my favorite villain out of the lot. I love Sound. I mean, I love Starscream. I love Shockwave, but Soundwave is the bomb. His tapes. Yeah. So this is going to be pretty awesome. We are getting a Soundwave. I mean, and the fact that the little radio, that's awesome, and maybe you put a sound chip in it so you can have what
were it was Ravage and was it Thunderbeak was the cassettes?
Yes, Thunderbeak, and then you had Rumble, Ravage,
and Ravage,
and then you also had his brother, which was the two guys, Rumble, and there was another brother too.
His brother,
Frenzy was the other brother.
Oh, I thought you meant a brother to Soundwave, so it was like a guy who played 8 tracks. And pushed it.
Well, Blaster was kind of like the alternative copy.
Blaster,
not Deado Blaster, but Blaster because you didn't want to make people upset. But I'm excited for this. If it looks good, that could be my Lego kick into this.
Yeah,
that's great. That's summer 2025, and we also have Legos Pirate of the Caribbean, the Black Pearl. This seems to be a reissue because I thought they already did this. Only $100. This seems pretty cheap.
That's reasonable, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for the Enterprise. Then we talked about these other two, the Enterprise and the Death Star. So I'm not super psyched that they didn't list a price for the Enterprise D. So I get the feeling. I don't know. I hate to coin the phrase, but I got a bad feeling about that. So we shall see.
Your pocketbook has a bad feeling about that.
Exactly.
So everybody, what is your one wish list Lego set you want to happen eventually?
Asked and answered, my friend.
Wait, the Enterprise?
Well, I would say the Enterprise A or the Constitution too that I was just talking about. That would be the one.
Okay, great. Clint,
I would love to see the Nostromo from the Alien movie.
Nice. It was the Nostromo had all little pokey parts coming out the top. Yeah, it wasn't the what the hell was the one in the first movie? The whole thing looked like a office building in space
and stuff. Yeah.
It was what was the name of the? What was the name?
They were on the
from Alien. It was the
Sulaco, right?
The Sulaco. Yes. No, the Sulaco. That was the one from the second movie. The Nostromo was the first one, right?
Right.
In Alien. That was the blocky one. The Sulaco was the one with all the spikes punning off the top of it.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, not just to talk about stuff from Alien. So that's cool. Todd, what's yours? Did you say?
Oh, that's a hard one, but I think it might be. Unfortunately, a lot of these stuff have been done by other crappy companies. So I was thinking Castle Grayskull, but I believe that was already done by Mega Bloks. So maybe I just need to get Mega Bloks, and I'll be happy with it's like the GoBots of Legos is Mega Bloks. So, but probably something for Mass Effect because it's my favorite franchise with sci-fi, and I think that could be really cool. But you know what? We'll see. I don't put anything together. I have Thor's hammer. It's ready to go. I got a knockoff Johnny 5 Lego set that I need to put together. And I also have the Master Sword from Legend of Zelda that I need to put together. So maybe I shouldn't get one. Maybe I don't want them to be one because I'll be I'll buy it and then I'll put it together because I like the box.
April likes to build that shit. I do not. So I end up getting something, chilling at building that works for me. But anyway, that does take us out of the news. And in lieu of our regular ride to the Geek Easy where we listen to that fancy commercial, we actually have a special message, which dropped on our YouTube actually last week from Star Trek Enterprise actor John Billingsley. So take a listen and we'll be back with Geek Easy in a minute. Hey there, Secret Friends Unite listeners. Before we get to this week's podcast that you've tuned into, I've got a special friend of mine who is going to talk to us about some things that we can do to help the folks in Los Angeles. This is esteemed actor John Billingsley from Star Trek Enterprise, Dr. Phlox, amongst many other things. John, how are you today?
I'm wonderful, bearing up. It is a difficult time to be an American citizen. It's a difficult time to be a Los Angelian. The fires are still raging. We have made great progress, but I appreciate your having me on, giving me a chance to say a couple of words about an organization that I think is doing tremendous work to help people in need, the Hollywood Food Coalition.
Yes. Tell us all about it. How can people help? We've been talking on our show for a couple of weeks now about ways that they can look at the website and investigate. But what's the best way that people can really contribute?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, as is always the case. In the end, there's not a not-for-profit out there that isn't ultimately interested in seeing if we can get donations. We have a better sense of how to use the money. That said, if you happen to be in Los Angeles and you want to volunteer, we can always use people to help us come cook and serve and help process the food that we rescue. The key thing to know about us is that what we are doing is rescuing food from all over the city and sharing it with social service organizations who can get it to people in need. So when you're working with us, you're effectively helping to support 150 other social service organizations. And I think one of the key things about these horrible fires is that while there is an obvious and wrenching pain because a lot of people have lost their houses, one of the things that is a reality is that a lot of the people who may not have lost their houses are going to be impacted by the fact that money is going to be hard to come by.
Right.
So for people who are living on the streets, for people who are indigent, for people who are relying on social service organizations to help take care of them, the need is only going to get greater. So in that sense, I would only say, yes, it is possible to make a donation to a number of wonderful organizations, obviously the Red Cross, that might be helping some of the people who have faced particular fire-related catastrophes. If you're helping the Food Coalition, what you're really doing is helping to sustain an ecosystem, which is critical to our city's survival.
Right, absolutely. And the website again?
It's HOFOCO.org, HOFOCO.
Exactly.
HOFOCO.org. Like all websites, you fish around, you hear our story, you learn about the wide range of things we do. We serve a hot meal to all comers 7 nights a week. We help provide for hundreds of people's emergency needs. And again, we rescue almost 2.5 to 3 million pounds of food a year that we share with other organizations. The other thing, since you give them the opportunity to chat, and I appreciate it, that is really important to me because this is Star Trek. Coalition was the word that appealed to me when I joined this organization 8 years ago. The idea that it takes a village of people who are learning how to do things together that they cannot do separately. When it comes to food rescue, you have to put a fleet of trucks out there. You got to find places to take that food to keep it refrigerated. You got to figure out how to reach populations that might not be easily reachable. It truly takes a ton of groups working together to figure out how to provide for a city as big as ours, millions and millions and millions of people. I'm really proud of the efforts we've taken in the last few years to help build that collective, collaborative infrastructure. And I think that's really one of the keys as we face this political crisis we're in. Cities getting stronger by not relying necessarily on a dismissive federal government, figuring out how not-for-profits can band together to work together more effectively.
Absolutely. That's great. So again, hofoco.org.
ORG, yes. I am always forgetting my orgs and my nets.
Orgs and my nets.
hofoco.org.
Absolutely.
Hofoco.org.
Oh my goodness. Well, John, thanks for jumping in with me and all of our friends over at Secret Friends. No matter what show you're listening to, if you're on our Patreon, please go investigate, give, and help our fellow folks in Los Angeles.
And let me throw one last thing out. Trek Talks, which is the annual Lollapalooza 8-hour digital telethon to raise money for the Hollywood Food Coalition. We've postponed it, but we haven't canceled it. It'll be back probably in April, so keep watching the skies.
You better believe it. All right. Thank you again, John, so much. And I always like to say, keep on trekking.
Thank you.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting on the Geek Easy cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. Clint, you're going to talk about a show that I've heard like it's the greatest show ever to it's another Taylor Sheridan show where there's a lot of sex, F-bombs, and, guys throwing around their schlongs. Oh, sorry. Did I say that? Yeah. So what is it? Is it one or the other, or is it right in the middle?
Honestly, now that you say that, it is that, but it's done well for me anyways. I just kind of like binge watched that. I don't think I've watched the last episode yet. But Billy Bob Thornton just steals the show in that. That's
very true. I'll give you that much.
I think To be fair, if Billy Bob Thornton wasn't in it, I probably wouldn't be interested. He makes
That
the
is
show.
also fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Clint, just because it's my show and I'm giving my 2 cents. Just the implausibility of everything that seems to happen. Even for Tyler Sheridan, who the last couple of episodes of Yellowstone, he literally made it about the character about himself, who was a card shark with naked women hanging all over him. It was just like, dude, come
Man, I want to make a show so I can do that.
Yeah, I know. It was just it was like gross wish fulfillment. And it just the storylines in Landman, you're right. Billy Bob, amazing. Allie Larder and their daughter, let's go to the country club and take our tops off, and let's go to the old folks home and take them to a strip club. Those were plot lines that happened in that show. Yeah. And it was, what are you doing? And
Charlie, I'm waiting to hear the bad thing about this show.
And my wife liked it, and she said, "Well, I liked the son's plot line with the widower."
Okay.
And I'm like, that was one of the dumbest plot lines of the season, because it was. And the son's like, "I'm going to be an oil baron someday." I'm like, "You literally look like you're homeless. How are you going to be a captain of industry like John Hamm?"
Get yourself a big belt buckle and a hat, and we'll talk later, son. But Clint, going back, what if give us the pitch of why the show is worth watching, because I'm not invested in the Tyler Sheridan-verse.
It's, as Charlie said, there are a lot of like plot holes and stuff that happens just wouldn't happen and not get caught or whatever. So it is very far out there. You just got to go in with it just thinking, I'm watching this for Billy Bob Thornton, and you'll be okay. There is some fun to be had with it, but yeah, you can't pick at it, nitpick it, or it will destroy itself.
Don't pick it; it'll get infected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When I saw the plot for this show, and I'm like, this just reminds me of Dallas that's been updated. Kind of like, people, drama, sex, lies, families, oil. I'm like, that's Dallas, but it's been updated to modern times, maybe with better writing and better acting. But yeah, maybe. I feel like it's in that wheelhouse. But it's like people like that stuff. I mean, I love Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is essentially a soap opera with punching. I mean, it is so great, but it's like nobody would say it's great stuff. But I like it. And I recognize that there's a lot of shows out there like Reacher, which I watched the first season, loved it to pieces. But that show is pretty much just like,
I'm punching
popcorn.
a guy.
Yeah,
I'm throwing
exactly.
a guy through a window. I'm throwing a guy out of a plane.
You can solve any problem with a punch.
Punching.
So,
a whole lot of punching.
Okay. So Squid Game season 2. I'll let you know. I've only watched Squid Game through season 1, episode 2, which I enjoyed a lot because my wife wanted to watch it. So we started watching it. I want to watch more, but I know season 2 is a pickup from season 1. So does it fail, succeed? Where's it land?
For me, it definitely succeeds for sure. There's really nothing that I really don't like about it. The characters that they brought in were really well done to me. There's one character in particular that's pretty popular that's been taken off online in general with memes and such. But I quite liked it, binged it, and I'm just very happy that I don't have to wait 3 years to wait for the next season. It's the season 3.
Oh, it's coming out sooner.
June 27th is season 3.
Oh wow! They filmed it back to back.
Filmed them back to back. Yeah.
Wow! Talk about actually giving people what they want, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Highly enjoyed it. If you like what you've watched so far, it's more of that. So,
got it. A lot of these shows, I unfortunately have gotten spoiled for certain things. And obviously, if you're watching the show, you kind of, if you know there's a season 2 and you've seen any of the things, like, oh, I kind of know what happened, but I don't. And by watching episode 2, though, I'm like, I get where they're going and I love it. So I'm like, that's where they get me back. Because I'm like, because they address some of the things that a lot of people are like, is this even possible? So I like it. You do have to be careful. So Charlie, I think it's a show you'd really get into.
Yeah,
you can watch it with English voice acting if you don't want dubs.
Okay.
But the voice acting in the English, it's pretty rough. But if you don't, like my wife can't do subtitles because of her vision. Because that we just watch it with that. But I would say it's a little bit clunky with the English voice acting.
Yeah, I saw a translation of some foreign language film where they redubbed it in English, and it was about that plane that crashed in the Andes with the soccer players that they eventually had to eat each other.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Was that Alive? Was that the movie Alive?
No, this was more. It was the same story, but it was a new telling of it that came out in the last 5 years. Yeah.
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
they redubbed it in English. I was like, wow, this is super clunky. So yeah, I gotcha.
Well, good deal. Okay, and then Clint, you have one more thing you wanted to talk about?
I just The Last Kingdom. I watched. It's over on Netflix, kind of like a Viking style series.
Okay.
Very, very well done, written wise, cool characters, and I just had fallen off of it, so now I'm restarting it again because I think there's 5 seasons and a movie. I think it's 5 seasons. So now I'm just rewatching that, and just anything Vikings, I'm all for it. And it's set more of them already being, or the Danes already being in England, and just from there, it's not like the Vikings doing attacks here and there. What they do, but they're already like in England type of deal. So,
are they playing football?
No, they're not playing football.
Oh, I mean, those are my people. The Vikings. But they truly are. They came into their own when they started playing in the NFL.
Yeah, that was why they ended up in Minnesota. It's true. Girl,
that's right.
It's true. Now, Todd,
exactly.
This first show that you're going to talk about, I see the spots all the time because it's CBS, it's on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
And I'm tempted, but why don't you do the Landman for me and tell me why I should watch the show?
Okay. Yeah. This show is like so not Todd, but it is kind of like Todd. So because this show is a spinoff of The Good Wife, a show I never watched. I had no interest in doing it. There's been a couple of them. There's The Good Wife, there was The Good Fight, and this is the third spinoff, or the second spinoff. So Ellsbeth is a character from The Good Wife, I guess. I don't know. But this show is adorable. This is like if there was a female version of Columbo solving crimes in New York. Her name is Ellsbeth Frangiconi, I think is her name. She is recently divorced. She is an attorney, and she is brought in to basically observe the New York police force. No, is it Chicago? Chicago. Not New York. She's brought into Chicago to observe the police force to make sure they're doing things by the book because there's been corruption allegations. So she's brought in.
Todd, crossover with Shameless, maybe? That took place in Chicago.
Maybe, or any of the main, or all of the Chicago shows.
Chicago Fire, Chicago DPW, Chicago Hospital, sure.
Chicago Library Service System, Chicago Fire, water systems. Yeah, all those things. Parks and Rec too. But no, this is great because Ellsbeth is the goofiest character you've ever seen. She dresses ridiculously bright. She is funny. She's adorable. She always talks about her name like, I'm Ellsbeth. Yes, there's too many letters in it. It doesn't make any sense. Like, she explains it away because she's heard it all before. She's hilarious and she's funny and she's very disarming, like Columbo. So when she's doing a case, she you don't want to hate her, and she's great. Yeah. And every case is handled every episode. It's like you kind of get it. You kind of know where it goes. And it's Jenna from 30 Rock was on one episode. She was a guest. It was James great.
Bukowski. Yeah.
But the tone of the show is so fun. There was actually an episode where she was investigating a death on on the set of a show that's kind of like The Real Housewives, but it was like from Chicago. It was hilarious because it's like lampooning all of the Real Housewives like narrative, but it's an hour-long procedural, but it's comedic, it's funny, it's heartwarming, it's really good. I really love it. I would not have said anything about the show, but we watched it. I'm like, I can't stop. It's like Gilmore Girls, or those shows that have really good writing that are just like a spot on, get you in, and there's a murder, but that's not why you're there. So I like it. It's great. Nice. So check it out. It's very heartwarming. It's a show you can watch with your kids, your family, your mom, because you have Paramount Plus. But also you're going to watch more NCIS. Watch Ellsbeth. So Charlie, you can tell your mom to watch that show, and you can watch it together instead of NCIS.
Oh boy! Thank God.
Next show, though, it's also on Paramount Plus, and that is Watson. So this is Morris Chestnut playing the role of Dr. Watson. It is living in a modern world where Sherlock Holmes did exist. He was the world's greatest detective. He was killed by Professor Moriarty. They all went down the waterfall But apparently he was the only one to survive, was Watson. Had a head injury. He's dealing with essentially all of the issues with, the neurological issues with when you have a head injury. Smart guy.
Bonked on the cabeza.
She's a vet dealing with issues like a military vet, like the Watson was when he was in the basically the wars of England in India, where he. So it's kind of following that too. But basically, when Sherlock died, he left Watson with money to basically focus on his medical practices. So he set up this medical laboratory and service to help people with like these medical mystery illnesses. So think of all like House, where it's like he's kind of House in his group of scientists and genealogists that he's recruited to solve these medical mysteries. And that's the premise. He's got this British guy who's kind of the what's the best way to put it? He's kind of like the lackey of Sherlock Holmes who does all the dirty work for him, who is only the one left remaining. And he's kind of helping Watson run the business. But he's kind of dicey, and there's a murder. There's a illness that happens. There's 4 wacky characters, kind of like an NCIS, where it's like this is the funny one, this is the edgy one, it's like all the different people he brought on, and there's a lot there. He obviously Watson has an ex-wife that's now moved on, which happens to be a woman, of course, because it's like, oh, I moved on with a woman. I'm like, like drop that. I mean, it just feels like to be updated and edgy. Right. Yeah, exactly. Which is fine. I mean, but it was just funny because it brought there. So it's basically him trying to get his life back together with this mission to basically get his focus on medical mysteries. But I will say, after episode 1, there is a certain nemesis that is brought back, and the actor playing that person, I don't know if it works. So this series, I loved Elementary. I like the take on this. This is now Watson in kind of that similar vein, but I feel like this is far more NCIS, Chicago, those CBS shows where it just feels like this is too on the nose. It's going to be going on for 8 seasons. These mysteries aren't going to play out. And then it's going to create a lot of, I just see where the show's going and I'm like, I don't like it. So I don't know. Maybe it'll get better.
If it catches, it could be in the next 22 years, like NCIS.
Oh yeah. Because CBS loves shows that go on forever. There might be a Watson spinoff called Watson and Son, and it's his child. I don't know.
Danger Mouse, because they live in the same.
But Elementary is a far better series. If you like this type of concept with Lucy Liu and I forget what the guy's name was, Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah.
Great series, Elementary. This one is far less complex. It's definitely not great. So it might get better after episode 1, but man, I don't know. We had problems. Best to say.
We have problems. Well, I don't have any problems, and Todd and you and I will both talk about this with the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is over on Disney Plus. We got a double drop on the 29th of the first 2 episodes. 22 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever. It's basically a half-hour program, and we get a fair combination of very MCU-like characters, in so much that the actor that they have voicing Peter Parker definitely sounds like Tom Holland. The voice actor who's doing Aunt May gives you that Marissa Tomei vibe. I don't know if it's that much of a click. But this gives you, it kind of informs you on maybe what really happened before we met Peter Parker in the part of it he did in Civil War. Uncle Ben passed away in Peter Parker's 8th grade year or whatever it is. And he had been, it wasn't really explained about his parents, but it's just him and Aunt May. He just calls her May, which he does in the movies, which I really love, because she's his aunt by marriage. And, maybe she's always just been May to him. So they're driving.
Most people are aunts by marriage.
Yeah.
A lot of people are aunts by marriage.
Yeah, yes, 50%. Yes. But I don't. My aunts and uncles, I just call them by their first name. This has always been a thing for me.
Oh, really? I've never called my aunts or uncles by their first name. I've always been aunt or uncle, no matter how old they are, and no matter how old I am.
I died in my family. It's just kind of that way. But so you find a divergent point. He's going to his first day of school at Midtown High, and we're going to keep it spoiler free because it's just been out a little while. But there's kind of a divergent event that illustrates to us that this is not the 616 MCU. Things spin off in a different direction. Okay. Peter meets different people. We see versions of villainous characters before potentially they're villainous, and we get a replacement for Tony Stark. There's no Tony Stark, but there is a very familiar father figure type character that we know from other versions of Spider-Man. So I'm on board. I'm loving it, Todd. You're very familiar with Spider-Man, but you're not a super Spider-phile like I am. But you've seen all the movies and you know all the big plot beats. So what do you think?
Oh, I'm digging this. I love the art style. It's definitely leading me to the Steve Ditko style, but it's modern and updated. They had
He's got the yellow and the blue, his Amazing Fantasy 15 outfit.
And for anyone who's worried about the origin story, because I'm like, oh, he's not Spider-Man yet when this kicks off. But essentially, there's no origin story. It's just like something happens and there's like, yep, he's Spider-Man. I'm like, perfect. We all get it. We can all pick up the plot points. We're not dumb. We can put this all together. It's great. There is a couple cameos that we've seen through the series. There's a couple of twists, which I enjoy. And they brought in some different characters that, quite honestly, are kind of in the MCU, but not, like Nico Minoru, who is from the Runaways, who is Sister Grimm. She's brought in as kind of like his, I don't know, Charlie, what's his equivalent for a friend? Would it be Ned Leeds? Would it be something like that?
No, it was not
in high school.
It was not. He didn't have one. Peter was alone. So
now he's got a friend in high school, which is Nico, which I thought was cool, neat. There's no Flash Thompson. There is some new characters because of a love interest that he kind of.
I will tell you, Jessica Jones was retconned to be a high school friend of his, but it was not that way in the original because they're from the same neighborhood and we're at school together. So
okay,
but you're
so
right. You don't get your traditional
dig it.
beats of Flash and Mary J. Well, or Betty Brant, who is you don't even have J. Jonah Jameson or Robbie Robertson, but you do have
not yet
other characters. Not yet. But
and they've already said that there will be a different dynamic. He'll have a person that's going to assist him and help him out beyond having the weird hockey jersey Spider-Man uniform. So we will see that, and then we're gonna next week we're getting 3 episodes. So we're getting like. These episodes drop very quickly.
They're doing what Prime does, like what they did with like that show I like, that Daisy Jones and the Six, or they do with Reacher, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so it'll come out, you'll have 10 episodes to come out in a month. So I'm fired up, and that drops on Tuesdays. No, Wednesdays.
I think so. I think so. And if you're a fan of X-Men 97, I think this is perfect for Spider-Man fans because I think it gets you in a place. It's obviously not a connection to the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon from like the 90s, like the Fox show, but I think this will be great. The animation is great. The theme song is a take on the old 60s theme song, which is great.
That was cool.
A little bit of a hip hop update, which is great. So Clint, I know you have kids, and I think you would all enjoy this together. It's great. It's 22 minutes episodes long.
It's definitely on the list. Spider-Man's great anyways. And then but just the trailers that I have seen, the villains trailers and a couple, I love the art style and stuff. So it's definitely on the list for sure.
Cool. Good deal. Tune on in. All right. Well, that takes us out of the Geek Easy, Todd. I have my phone out. That Air Qantas app is open. We are getting booked on business last class to get on down to the land down under. Hologram Tina and the mutants await for us to talk about Companion.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're doing a review of 2025's Companion. This is by the creator of 2023's Barbarian. So if you're aware of that film, you are probably in an interesting space to see what this film is all about. And folks, we are making a change for 2025. For our reviews, we will not be getting to spoilers. We'll be giving our review with our score, and then we will pivot to reviews after that. So you get our full thoughts on the movie, and then we won't spoil anything, so you can go see it. So you don't feel like, is it worth your money? We'll tell you, and then you can go check it out. We don't have to feel like you have to wait until you've seen it to actually listen to the show.
Excellent. All right, let me jump on in. We're talking about the film Companion, an American horror film starring Sophie Thatcher. I couldn't place her. What else have we seen Sophie Thatcher in?
She was just in Heretic. She was amazing in that film.
Oh, that's right. And Jack Quaid, he's our Boimler. He is our Huey from The Boys. And I've met him. He seems very nice.
He was in Screams.
Yes.
5, 6.
Follows a weekend getaway amongst friends at a remote cabin, which unravels into chaos after the revelation that one of the guests is a companion robot. What?
Who could it be?
Written and directed by Drew Hancock from New Line Cinema. 97 minutes long, budget $10 million. So Todd, depending on how this film does, this could end up being a great success story. We talk all the time about ROI, the budget versus the box office. So $10 million, they made Star Wars for $10 million in 1977. Think about that. In 1977.
Yeah, because money is worth the same amount from 1977.
It is. I've never heard of inflation. So again, I mentioned Sophie Thatcher is Iris, our main character. Harvey Guillon is Eli. He's been in a lot of great stuff lately.
He's great.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, he's got Guillermo from What They Do in the Shadows.
Jack Quaid, we already mentioned. Rupert Friend is Sergei. Rupert Friend was the Grand Inquisitor in Kenobi. Couldn't place
wasn't Rupert Friend in also the Harry Potter films?
I'm not sure. You might be thinking of a different Rupert. We'll have to look that up.
I'm going to look him up.
Lucas Gage is Patrick. He was very familiar, and I feel like I looked it up, and I've already forgotten what it was. Mark Mencha plays the sheriff deputy. Megan Suri is Kat. Jacoby Young White is Teddy. That's a familiar name. Woody Fu is I don't know. And Yaunus How Later is Joy. So yeah, there gets to be kind of a lot of B characters in there at the bottom. But yeah, so yeah, this is new for us. We're not doing spoilers, but yeah, basically we get an in process of a couple driving to a destination that is a compound owned by a mysterious Russian who has his girlfriend and Jack Quaid's character are platonic friends, and they're also joined by Eli and he's gay, and his boyfriend. Whoops. And that's where
no, he just happens to be a boyfriend. He is gay, but he just has a boyfriend.
The other guy, yeah, it's not too. Yeah,
he just goes along for the ride. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a very bucolic setting. It was set and filmed in upstate New York, which I got an upstate New York vibe. Just get like the Hudson Valley. I just kind of got a vibe looking at it. So,
Clint, you could travel to this location.
Yeah,
kind of looks like your home.
That's your neck of the woods, Clint. You're an upstate New Yorker. Yep. Yeah, cool.
No, he's from a state. I don't know if you want to say where you're from.
Oh, I'm upstate New Hampshire, but
New Hampshire.
Son goes to college over in upstate New York, so we probably drove right through his filming, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness, old New England, absolute old England. All right, so since we're still spinning spoiler free, Todd, take it away. Next segment's yours.
Yeah, so if anyone's seen Barbarian, you know that's a movie where they didn't give much away.
Yeah,
and you didn't know what was going to happen. You just know that there was somebody showing up at a Airbnb. There was somebody else at an Airbnb. They had a conflict of reservations. And then something bad is going to happen. That's it.
Right.
And this movie, I feel, does a good job of setting up a premise that they have introduced, and they've released more information about this. But I think it's kind of interesting with Clint's perspective, because Clint saw this movie without seeing any trailers, without seeing anything, which is great. And then he had to travel an hour to see this movie because he's like, we're going to watch this movie. He's like, okay, I'll go see it because I know Clint likes horror films. And I will say this. At a top level, this movie, if you're worried about like this being a horror movie, it's not really. I would say this is more of a thriller.
Yeah.
This is a movie with interesting plot points, twists. Just when we think it's going to change, something does flip. Good writing, good acting. It takes you places you don't know. And it kind of twists your feelings about all of the characters and what you expect. And it takes it through all those beats. And I really enjoy this movie. It's only like 97 minutes long, so it's very tight.
Right.
And you're like, what's going to happen? And what I loved about this movie is, yes, more things are coming out about it. So if you want to stay spoiler free, don't watch all the trailers. But if you like the premise of what you've seen, which is essentially you got a feeling about a couple something's very off. Some deaths occur because that's what they show in the trailer. And I just was really pleasantly surprised by all of the actors. Sophie Thatcher is becoming one of my favorite actresses. I think all of the supporting characters were great. And this was a roller coaster ride that I really appreciated. I needed this type of movie, which made me feel like I didn't turn my brain off and I had to pay attention, and I liked it.
Yeah.
And I saw this at 9:50 in the morning, which is one of the rare occurrences of me seeing a very early movie.
Wow.
But I'm glad, and there were people there too with blankets. So I would, if you want my take on this, I would say this is a really quick from me, because I'll just go through really quick my own take, and then we'll go to everybody else's. But I'm going to say this movie was a 8.5 out of 10 for me, because it didn't leave me wanting for much.
Yeah. The theater, we saw it Thursday night at 6:30, and the theater seemed very full. So it was one of the first showings of the film, because movies come out on Thursday now. That's just kind of the way things work. And I enjoyed it. You're right. It kept you guessing. There were definitely some surprises. There was a big reveal halfway through that I was like, ooh, I didn't really know. But once it happened, it totally made sense. So I'm going to go eye to eye with Oxford on this one. I'm an 8.5 on this. Didn't leave you wanting more. I don't need to have this turned into a franchise. It had a satisfactory ending that, it could be open-ended and there could be other stories to tell, but if they're not, so what? Don't need to see any more stories. It was a good self-contained bit. Clint.
I would say one more thing before Clint starts. Just for anyone who wonder if there's any posting credits, stay through the credits, because it does show more of the movie that you might value, but it's not like anything, no real major plot twists.
I stayed through the credits because it said stay through the credits and there was nothing. So I don't know.
Well, in the beginning of the credits, it did show like her drive.
Not after credits.
No.
Not
like
end.
Mid credits.
Marvel
as the credits are flowing, there's story points.
I misunderstood.
So
all right,
that's all I will say. So stay through it if you want.
Clint, please.
Clint.
I loved this movie. As Todd said, I went in pretty much blind. I read the description to Ashley, and then I watched it, or not watched it. I just read the description, and I was like, yeah, this sounds like something I would enjoy. And we went and saw it, and we were the only ones in the theater, so we were able to talk about it while it was like playing. The writing I thought was phenomenal. I loved the just stuff that was going on in the background that actually helped the movie out. Sophie Thatcher was fantastic in it. Everybody was really good, but Sophie Thatcher was just phenomenal in it. Like you both said, there's some really good twists there that I didn't see coming. I wouldn't label it as like a horror jump scare type of thing. Definitely a thriller type of deal. But I absolutely loved it. And 8.5, really leaning close to a 9 for that.
Yeah. Fair. All right. Well, with that, let's open the floodgates and talk about this film with the spoilers. Todd's pointing. He's thinking something.
Yep. So, folks, if you have not watched this film and you're intrigued, go see the film, then come back for our spoilers. And if you've watched this movie, here we go. We're talking spoilers. So there we go.
Here's the intermission music. Do 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 boop and engage.
Maybe I may have to put like some type of marker in there, but yes. So now we're into spoilers, because Clint, you're the one that had not seen anything about this film. No trailers or anything. So knowing what you do now, are you glad you didn't have any spoilers?
For sure. Definitely. And like I said, I had told Ashley the description about it, but she'd kind of forgotten about it. So the fact, like when she learned that Sophie Thatcher was an actual AI companion, she thought it was, and then when it actually happened. Right. So it was definitely good going in blind, because I did watch the trailer afterwards, and I know I still would have liked it, but I wouldn't have been as excited or something, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved all the it's the not too distant future tech. Like they have that, phone and they're out now, the ones that like fold out into a bigger screen.
The folding phones,
cool.
yeah.
And I love it that you control your bot with an app on your phone, and then if you don't have the app on your phone, your bot is just going to run amok. But I loved it when she got a hold of the device and she starts to go through changing her eye color and changing the pitch of her voice, which she's able to use to activate his voice activated only car. He's the only one who can operate it. And it's weird that in the voice activated car, the driver's seat is on the other side like it is overseas. So I thought that was just kind of a weird touch. But yeah, I loved that. And the iconic scene, I think, from the trailer was where she adjusts her intelligence from 40% to 100%. And then later in the movie, it's adjusted down to, it's weird. It was adjusted down to 0%, but she could still speak. I would think at 0% intelligence, she'd just be like,
I'm assuming, she can't do anything. She can't even respond. Yeah. She can only respond to like questions, but she doesn't have a reaction.
Yeah.
And Clint, just to let you know, the first teaser that came up for this movie was showing Jack Quaid with her at the dinner table at the very, that scene with her hand over the fire. That was it.
Interesting.
So it was basically like, what is up with this movie? What's going on? I'm like,
I think that was the second teaser because the first one was just her chained and then tears streaming down her face. And the second trailer is where you saw her hand on fire. You're like, what is going on here? But still, and still did
no giveaway of her being a robot.
And it kind of, but at one point, I think it was in the second trailer, they kind of danced around. I was trying to figure out if maybe a Cat and Jack Quaid's character were a couple and this was a robot they had that they just tortured. I couldn't figure that part out.
Yeah, or that wasn't the deal, right? She said, so that was part of the progress. We find out that there is actually, we find out that there's a reason why all of these bad things happen to Iris. Basically, she is going to be the vessel or the way they get away with a huge murder and robbery of $12 million from a Russian guy named Sergei, who we don't know much about, and we are making a lot of assumptions, which I love the fact that we made all these assumptions about Sergei, and then we find out what Sergei is really like.
He's just a dude. He's a dirt farmer, and he was very
great mullet. Yeah, he's absolutely a sod farmer, not a dirt farmer. He's a sod farmer, Charlie.
A literal dirt merchant, like in Jay and Silent Bob, the local dirt mall.
Which I love the one conversation when he's having with, is it Patrick that he's having the conversation? He's like, what do you do? Well, I get my hands dirty. So I'm like, bad guy. No, he just gets his hand dirty because he's dealing with
literally dirty.
And he is, he's kind of a Lothario because he has a family back in Russia, but he takes up with this cat woman. And it's interesting. I say cat woman. That's what I'm going to call her now. Cat, the woman. And I like the kind of the foreshadowing when Sophie Thatcher is sitting on the couch next to her chatting with her and saying, well, she's like, well, Kat, I can tell you really don't like me. And she says, I don't like the idea of you, the companion, the this, the that, kind of dancing around the basics. I did, speaking of Sophie Thatcher's character is, of course, named Iris. And I do love when she got dropped off. That was the song that was playing the iconic.
Good.
Iconic. I didn't even notice that. That's great from the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, when he opens up,
that's even better.
The Goo Goo Dolls are an upstate New York band. They're from Buffalo, so I thought that was cool.
I totally forgot about that. That's amazing. And in part of this movie was the whole your perceptions and where it was going, and there were multiple points where you were kind of led someplace and you weren't totally getting where it was going to go. Part of the process of this was getting to know the characters, a little bit of their background, but also their meet cute, which I loved. The meet cute with the characters was amazing as it turned into the process of the movie. With the meet cute with Jack Quaid and his girlfriend, you find out, because it starts out that they're at the grocery store, things, they look at each other, oranges fall. And essentially, that's just a setting within all of the robot settings. So you can choose your meet cute.
Right.
And I love that because I'm like, that's perfect.
And
because most meet cute suck.
It dovetails right into one of my favorite parts in the big reveal that Patrick is also a companion robot.
Yes.
Which
I did not see that coming at all.
April says, you know what? Come on. I mean, he's too handsome to be with this little toad.
Oh, that's fat shaming Harvey. Come on.
I know.
Harvey's a pretty handsome guy. And he's got dance moves.
Well, he's very charming. And there is a fun little dance sequence, which I enjoy too. Everybody's having a good time. But it's found out that that through the course of the film, they're all in on this plot, and they have reprogrammed Iris to murder the Russian guy.
Yes.
They change her programming. They hack into her, which is not at all allowed. But they think they can keep it under. They think they can keep it under the wire and make it a perfect crime. But they kind of convince the Russian guy to assault her. When it's just the two of them, sexually.
Oh, it's okay to share. I was told it was okay to share
exactly,
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Iris ends up defending herself by stabbing him in the neck, and she walks back in covered in blood, head to toe, or the upper half of her body just absolutely covered in blood. It's horrific. And Patrick is having an argument with Eli at this point, and they go, "Patrick, go to sleep." That's how you shut the companion down, and their eyes go white, so you know that they're
because that happens because they find out that he's got his money behind the wall. It's $12 million. Right. They assume he's a drug dealer, all these bad things. So it's okay if he died, when we find out actually he's the side version. But the whole thing with Patrick, we find out he's a robot because they only want to split it 3 ways.
Right.
They're like, why would we split it 4 ways? And he says, Patrick sleeps. So at that point, then Patrick now is known to be a robot, which is just kind of crazy.
That really kicks into high gear, in the middle of the second act as they're chasing Iris through the woods, and there was a handgun in the vault, and Eli is carrying it, and he has a scuffle with Iris, and he ends up taking a bullet and he dies, which Patrick witnesses. And Patrick has a bot because they're so in love. Because what happens when you get one of these companion robots is that there's a startup sequence where you look at it and it bonds to you, and then it just loves you forever.
You know what I was going to say? That's like, if you guys have watched the horrible series, maybe you love it, which is Twilight, where they have a thing about you imprint.
Yep.
Yeah. The whole storyline about what's his name, the werewolf that imprints with Bella's baby.
Yeah. There's
it's kind of like when you get a dog, they imprint on you too. Yeah. So
there's a great British series called Humans, which April and I rewatched. She had seen it, but I bought
great show.
I bought the DVD because it was like $7. But
have you seen the American version?
No, I haven't. I don't think so.
Oh, the American version is very good too. But it's got Sam Wentworth from BSG.
Oh, very good. Sam Witwer. Okay. Sam Witwer. In that one, it's the woman who played Cersei in Eternals is the robot, and the mom is Jen from the IT Crowd, which is one of the great shows of all time.
Sure.
But it's somewhat similar in the having a sex robot or whatever. Though it's kind of a little bit more frowned upon. But what?
And it's no, Charlie. It's a emotional companion. This Jack Quaid tries to twist it around.
It's not, but you're not going to bang your dog, or at least I hope you're not.
No, I hope not. No.
But anyway, when Eli is dead, Patrick's sitting there and he's graving whatever it is because he's bonded to it. Jack takes his thumb, unlocks his phone, and then reboots Patrick, and then does the facial recognition so that Patrick becomes his bot. And now he says, I need you to find Iris and kill her. And in doing that, Kat ends up dead as well. And Iris does get to the road finally, because remember, she steals his car, but then he shuts the car down. During which case, Jack Quaid gets his hand smashed and his foot run over, which conveniently he limps in some of the scenes after that, but not all of them. So I
didn't notice.
He was like, because if somebody really had their foot run over, it would be crushed, and I don't think you'd be moving at all. But whatever.
Yeah. There was a great scene with Iris where she got the phone because she was able to unlock and do all the things. And when you had the car, which was a Hyundai or Kia, it's a modern car. It's actually available now. She was able to change her voice to basically pretend to be Jack Quaid, which I thought was great. She could change her eye color, could do all these things. And I like the fact that basically these robots can't lie. Yeah. So she got around that by changing her accent to German when the cop shows up.
I loved it. And then she couldn't change it back, but she could lie in German because she gets stopped by a sheriff who then sees that she has a knife and everything, and he's has her down on the hood of the car. Eventually he's cuffing her, and then Patrick walks out and just pulverizes this guy's face, kills him, and then puts him in the trunk, puts both of them in the trunk because Sophie goes to run away, and then Patrick goes boop and turns her off, and so that's when they end up back at the house. Patrick has already killed Kat by this point because Jack Quaid says stop her, and then stop her men stab her in the back, she'll die. And did you like that she dropped down on the white couch and just sat there and bled to death? It's like, oh, come on.
Well, she had to get comfortable.
Yeah, she was like shocked.
Yeah, exactly. So by this point, they do report. They've got Kat. They've got her tied up, and that's when we get into the scene that we were talking about.
So I've got a question about all this. So they did. I thought originally they were going to call the cops. Isn't that what the original like Eli was calling the cops?
Right.
But that cop was not. I don't think that cop was coming to them, was it? The same cop that found Iris?
No, it was just he was just driving by.
Driving by. And he saw.
So why did the cops never show up?
I don't. Maybe they couldn't find the place. Remember how remote it was. But the guys from the tech company after. And I hate to get up and go to the bathroom right at the scene where Iris shoots herself in the head. So I feel bad that I missed that.
No, so Iris did not shoot herself in the head. Oh, no, she did. Okay. But basically, that's where they recreated the scene with basically you've seen in the trailer with her hand over that. Basically, Jack. Is got her tied down. He shows her like, oh, you ever want to feel pain? Patrick's making a meal for himself. And that's where he's going to put the thing out there where she shoots herself in the head.
Right.
And the team is going to come collect her and he's going to get away with it. Patrick shows up in wearing police garb.
Right.
And basically the funny part is when the team shows up and they basically deal with everything, they basically are walking away. They realize that no, this guy's screwed. We've seen it before. They've hacked the doll before, so they know that this is just a screw up. So they're going to walk away. Yeah. And then Patrick shows up as a cop, shoots them. Yeah. And
he's gonna. So at this point, they said, "Oh, she shot her in the head," but their CPU is in their midsection. Their head is just Wi-Fi, which I thought it's just a server farm.
It's higher up. It's good.
But by this point, fortunately, the head tech guy shot in the head, killed while behind the wheel, and the other guy runs, and Patrick chases him and has him. Had him up against a tree doing the classic, hey, I'm going to twist your head off. And Sophie shows up and she starts to reason with Patrick. And Patrick then is overcome with sadness and he takes his own life, as it were, by sticking the taser device.
The probe.
And overloading himself. So he's out of the picture. Yep. And the Teddy guy lives. In time to set up the third act, Punch Out.
Yeah. So one of the things I liked, I don't know if you like this too, Clint, but the meet cute was one of my favorite parts of this movie series. Yeah. Movie. In regards to the fact that when Jack Quaid did, reprogram Patrick, he basically did the same meet cute with Patrick.
With his face,
and it was funny because it then basically honed them in. They did the dance and all the stuff. And then you saw them as Iris was talking to him. It basically... It kind of, he reconnected with, Eli's the one that said he loved me and all these things. And then that's where he couldn't deal with himself because Eli's gone and takes himself gone. Yeah, exactly.
So, so it was great. So in the end of it, yes, you do have the big Punch Out. I did love how she finally defeats him with that great corkscrew thing we see several times in the movie.
The foreshadowing.
She had it in her hand while Jack Quaid's choking her. And she jams it against the temple and activates it, and it burrows the corkscrew obviously into his brain. And when it falls out, the bits of skull fall out too. And he's toast. And so
I'm never buying one of those. Just to let you know now.
Yeah,
I'm not buying one of those.
It's not. You know what? You can hurt yourself with a corkscrew just the same. So she's free. She does have the burned up Terminator hand, which I loved because she pulls the skin off of it eventually, and it's just like Arnie. But she puts all the $12 million into a suitcase, and she rolls up out of there. And she takes did she take the cop car? Is that what she's driving away in?
No, she takes Sergei's Mustang.
Oh, right. That's right. Oh, beautiful car. That's right.
Yep. And she convinced the guy that she saved to basically take her programming and reverse the fact that she can no longer lie. She can lie now. Basically, she is just a person with no restrictions.
Right.
And I don't think there's an app anymore for her. I think she got rid of that.
She's a normal person. And the great kind of around the credit scene I think we're all talking about is Sophie Thatcher is driving down the road. She now has the full Terminator hand, but she's driving alongside a car, and there's a couple in the car, and the guy is yelling at the woman, and she's just kind of rolling around, looking out the window, and Iris and this woman lock eyes, and Iris holds up her Terminator hand, goes, mer, 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 and the woman smiles like, oh, maybe I can be a homicidal robot too, because you get the feeling she's a robot.
Well, it's the same Iris model. You'd see it. She's just got a different hair color, and it's the same thing.
You know what?
It was the same model, Charlie. Yeah.
Somehow I missed that. So that was pretty cool. And roll credits on that. So, damn. Yeah, this was Todd. We've been looking forward to this one for about the last 3 or 4 months, and I'm glad we had a chance to break it down and talk about it. Yeah, that was it was one of the more fun, original IP movies I've seen in a bit. Really did dig on it
for sure.
Yeah. Not a horror film, definitely a thriller, kept you on your toes, murder mystery kind of thing. So, Clint, anything that you want to call out from like things we didn't cover?
There was one bit, like the writing, of course, like we had talked about, the Iris song playing in the background and stuff, I thought was really awesome. There's a bit after she kills Sergey where he has her tied up and he's telling her that you're a robot, blah, blah, blah. And there's just got a quick little line in there and he's like, I know this is a lot to process. And he just kind of like smirked at himself. I was laughing out loud in the theater. I thought that was
you just could tell she was pissed off at that point. Like he made himself laugh.
It was so good. But yeah, just the writing and the acting by everybody, fantastic. But Sophie Thatcher, I think is definitely going to be an up and coming person for sure.
I think her career is going to take off in a major way. She's big stuff.
One last thing I want to say. I love the fact that this kind of addresses the whole, ideology of the incel.
Yeah.
Because if you thought about it, she addresses that because he's like keeps talking about like why he did this. Well, I'm a good guy and I deserve more and all these things. And basically
mediocrity of the white man. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because a lot of people feel like they're the good guy, but it's like, no, you're doing shitty stuff and you're being a shitty person. So maybe you're not a good guy. You know,
you're a good guy and just be a good guy if you're an asshole because you're treating people
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nobody thinks they're the villain. And Jack Quaid, I love the fact that Jack Quaid has been the killer in this. Scream. It's kind of nice that he's playing through. And did you see that there's a trailer for his new movie called Novocaine?
Yes,
as well.
Oh, that looks well. I do. I'm sure that I will bump into him at another con around the Star Trek cruise again someday. I would love to spend some time chatting with him. And again, I told him when I met him, because I met him on stage in Chicago. I said I'm a big fan of the work of your parents. Because I do. I love Meg Ryan, and I used to like Dennis Quaid. Certain proclivities he had politically, but we don't talk about that on this show. No. But all right, well that's a wrap. Unless anybody else has anything profound to say, fun movie. Go out and see it. Help it be a big success. We love it. And with that, Clint, you've been awesome. Thanks for coming back. Where do people find you out there?
You can find me usually over on Threads at Ryuketsu2043 or at Spreading the Nerd over there as well. That's where you'll find me.
Good deal. Mr. Extra.
Very good. You can watch Clint live with his co-host. They do a great job. One is a little bit more positive, the one's a little more grumpy. So enjoy that. The Odd Couple.
It's like a very good cop, bad cop thing we have going on.
Exactly. It's great. So yeah, check them out. They love talking about video games. They cover a little bit of the world in nerd as well. So check them out on their services. But you can check out me at Todd Oxtra at Secret Friends Unite on the Blue Skies, at T-Oxtra at Secret Friends Unite as well on the Threads and Instagram.
Fan-diddly-tastic. Well, I am on the big ones, Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram as at the C3, TheCeeThree. I love also hanging out in our Secret Friends Unite Discord. That's where we're having all of our fun chats. We do, of course, still have a Facebook page, but if you really want to be keyed in, the Discord is where it's at. All right. Well, that's it for us, folks. Thank you, as always, for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
And I don't want the world to see me because I don't think they'd understand.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.